Are we on? Love is the will to undo the delusion of division. This is one of Constance's uh, newest paintings. I love those leaves. They're just so. What we can't really see well on the computer screen here is the texture uh, of the paint and everything else. This, she says, she finished this on the 14th of September. Uh, she says it was inspired by a conversation with a Tulsi shrub. Now we have Tulsi tea, which is also called holy basil, growing in the backyard, tons of it, and we drink Tulsi tea uh, every day, and in the morning, even before I roll out of bed, Constance is in the backyard picking Tulsi tea in the dew of the morning, and we drink Tulsi tea a lot. So anyway, the reason I've got this out is she let me, number one, and number two is it has a lot to do with the subject of today's reading from Angels, Demons, and Gods of the New Millennium. We're on the chapter about the Emerald Tablet of Hermes and the invocation of the Holy Guardian Angel. And yesterday we're looking at the invocation of the Holy Guardian Angel as an alchemical process and how the information from the Emerald Tablet of Hermes sort of describes this operation. Yesterday we learned the magic fairy tale of Yod-Heh Vav-Heh. And today we're on the sixth little verse of the Emerald Tablet of Hermes that says, separate that spiritus earth from the dense or crude earth by means of a gentle heat with much attention. At this point, the aspirant might well ask, if my holy guardian angel needs me so much, why doesn't it just swoop down, pick me up, and drag me off to some heavenly fertility rite? The reason is simple. Your holy guardian angel is stuck in place because you are hoarding the stash of spiritus earth. You selfish person. You and you alone can extract a usable portion of this precious commodity from yourself and get it to your angel. To do this, you must process yourself as though you were the primary ingredient in a chemistry experiment, and separate the subtle spiritus earth from your dense, crude earth. When the subtle fire of the spiritus earth is released, it ascends and burns through the membrane, separating the microcosm and the macrocosm, and igniting your angel to action. I won't argue this sounds like the plot of a cheap science fiction novel, and for good reason. For it is indeed the underlying truth of the mythological scaffolding of Western civilization from the fall of man to the Star Wars trilogy. One cannot achieve knowledge and conversation of the Holy Guardian Angel by blindly following the procedures outlined in a book. As detailed as Abramelon's instructions are, they provide us with only an elaborate formula of invocation. in more modern times, Aleister Crowley, distilled and fine-tuned the Abramelin formula in his masterpiece, Liber Samech. While I certainly do not wish to downplay the importance of these classical texts, I must voice my belief that most successful invocations of the HGA, or the Holy Guardian Angel, are executed by individuals who have not performed either of the above rituals. Indeed, I'd even go farther as to wager that most K of Seers have never heard the word hermetics, nor would they consider themselves aspirants, initiates, or magicians. Why is the success rate so high among these non-professional mystics? Is the macrocosm prejudiced against those who would study the spiritual roadmap before starting the trip? In a way, yes. But not because we're too rational or analytical, but because all too often we simply aren't romantic enough. The 6th verse of the Emerald Tablet tells us the spiritous earth is separated from the dense or crude earth by means of a gentle heat with much attention. This gentle heat is love. And as anyone who's ever been in love will tell you, in matters of the heart, the mind often just gets in the way. It does not take a scholar to fall desperately in love. To generate the heat necessary to separate the spiritus earth from the dense earth, the primary skill you need to possess is the ability to be agonizingly lovesick for the angel. With the pure intensity of an adolescent who obsessively fantasizes a romantic encounter with a movie star or a rock idol, you must physically, emotionally, and spiritually yearn for your angel's touch. Every act of life must become an act of devotion to your beloved. You groom yourself so as to be attractive to your angel. You sleep so that you may dream of your angel. You surround yourself with tokens and symbols reminiscent of your angel. Hindus call this aspect of the holy science Bhakti Yoga, union with God by means of devotion, and consider it to be the fastest, most direct route to enlightenment. The flame of devotion can be enkindled toward any object of worship. It doesn't matter if the beloved is called Krishna or Shiva or Jesus or Fred. If devotion is offered with perfect one-pointed ardor, with great attention, union can be achieved. And the footnote is, this experience of Krishna or Christ consciousness is said to open and activate the Anahata chakra of the human psychic body. This center corresponds to the 6th sephira or Tifereth on the tree of life, the focal point of the macrocosm, and the abode of the holy guardian angel. No religion, philosophy, cult, fraternity, or school of thought has yet cornered the market on falling hopelessly in love. The human life cycle presents us with a frustrating challenge. In our youth, before the advent of responsibilities, regrets, painful memories, and spiritual cynicism, we find it quite easy to achieve this one-pointed devotion. But the roaring hormonal flame of youthful devotion is far from the gentle heat required for this delicate operation. Also, the juvenile attention span is so short we don't give great attention to anything for any significant length of time. Hopefully, as mature adults, we become disciplined enough to have conquered the great attention part of the equation, but for many of us, the winds of the cold, cruel world have exhausted all but the pilot light of our devotional hearth. Keeping this in mind, some of the more curious aspects of the Abramelin instructions make more sense. The magician should be over 25 years of age, but less than 50. And I have to remind you that the Book of Abramelin treats the magician as if he were male, because that was just the way everybody thought of things. But the invocation of the Holy Guardian Angel is certainly not restricted to gender specifics in any way. He must be sufficient. This is back to the Abramelin operation. He must be sufficiently set in life to afford to retire from the mundane world for 6 consecutive months. Since writing this, we've learned the operation is actually 9 months. In which time he is to have only minimal contact with the outside world. If he be married, he can continue with the moderate exercise of his husbandly duties. Thank you very much. But whether married or single, everything must be done to withdraw from the world of matter. Strict rules of diet and a regimen of daily devotional observances are recommended, not as magical oblations, but simply to focus the mind toward the object of the operation. After 2 months, the daily routine of prayers, confessions, and devotions is intensified to help further magnify the magician's longing for the angel. For the last 2 months, the activities are yet again intensified. The magician becomes totally obsessed with the desire for the angel and is perpetually inflamed with prayer. At the end of 6 months, at the climax of an elaborately prepared ceremony, the magician is at last received by the angel. Abraham the Jew's reverent description of this moment is reminiscent of the ecstatic writings of St. Teresa or Solomon's Song of Songs. And it leaves the reader with no doubt as to the authenticity of the experience. And I'm going to go on to read briefly the comment on the 7th verse of the Emerald Tablet, which says, "In great measure it ascends from the earth up to heaven and descends again newborn on the earth. And the superior and the inferior are increased in power." The 7th verse describes the process we've just discussed. The subtle fire of the spiritus earth is released by the aspirant's fervor. It ascends from the microcosmic plane of Malkuth and vivifies the holy guardian angel in Tifereth, who then descends to unite with and transform the magician. The magician and the angel are each metamorphosized. In actuality, they become a single new entity. The Abramelin Abramelin instructs the new HGAized magician to intimately commune with the angel for a period of 3 days, after which, under the angel's guidance, the 4 great princes of evil, Lucifer, Leviathan, Satan, and Belial, are to be summoned, and an oath of unquestioning obedience is demanded of them. On the following day, the magician is to summon the 8 sub-princes, Ashtaroth, Magot, Asmodee, Beelzebub, Oriens, Paimon, Aratron, and Amaemon, and extract from them the same pledge of service. The next day, the evil spirits under the command of the 8 sub-princes are conjured and subdued, and so on, and so on, and so on, until all the minions of hell have appeared before the angel-glorified magician and surrendered any inclination of sovereignty they may have imagined they had over his person. Isn't it curious that after 6 months of rigorous labor to make oneself holy enough to spiritually unite with the holy guardian angel, the first thing your celestial mentor requires you to do is deal with the denizens of the infernal regions? Why is the very first act after successfully taking the first major step toward godhood is the conjuration of evil spirits? A clue may be found in the second half of the verse 7 of the Emerald Tablet. The magician does not operate in a vacuum. Knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel is literally an event of cosmic proportions. All levels of consciousness and existence are enriched by the balance the magician has reestablished in his or her quadrant of the universe. However, it's not only the heavenly angels who rejoice at the return of the prodigal son. The superior and the inferior are increased in power, as the Emerald Tablet says. The spirits of the infernal abodes also feel an injection of new power on this hallowed occasion. And if the magician doesn't act fast to harness this new energy, it will overtake and destroy him or her the instant the afterglow of the angel's presence begins to wane. Now, it's not my intention in this place to embark upon a lengthy oration upon the character or even the relative existence of infernal spirits. Let's simply advance that momentum, what momentum remains in this little essay, and view them as inhabitants of the lowest sublevels of the microcosm, disorganized and fragmented pieces of energy, which, when properly directed, are responsible for doing all the heavy lifting in the universe. However, like circus tigers, they have the nasty habit of tearing apart and eating anyone whose skill, courage, and concentration is not up to the task of caring for them properly. Let's look at this aspect of the Abramelin operation in corporate terms. You are a talented shop foreman, the magician, who has succeeded in recruiting and training a band of wild, undisciplined workers from the worst part of town, the infernal regions. Under your strict guidance, this roughneck crew succeeds in boosting the factory's production to such high levels that your good work is brought to the attention of the company president, God, who introduces you to his beautiful daughter, the holy guardian angel, with whom you fall head over heels in love. Soon, your tenacity and charm and the ability to lick your own eyebrows wins the heart of the boss's daughter, and she marries you and has you promoted to an upper middle management position. I'd like to lick your own eyebrow. I couldn't help that. Meanwhile, back in the shop, your old crew of workers are leaderless and restless. The lunch trunk has stopped coming by, and they sit around all day and night with nothing to do but abuse the heavy machinery and think about how you let them down. Abramelin, in his wisdom, saw this scenario coming. His instructions are explicit. Instead of ignoring the infernal spirits, your new bride and you go back to the shop the minute the honeymoon is over. You introduce her and explain she's the boss's daughter and that they are now working directly for both of you in a new and more responsible capacity, adding that if they remain loyal, you will continue to promote them even as you are promoted. Admittedly, the allegory is a silly one, but I think you get the idea. And that's where we'll stop today. Tomorrow we'll pick up with the 8th verse of the Emerald Tablet of Hermes. Thou shalt by this means possess the glory of the whole world, and therefore all obscurity will flee from thee. Okay. I hope you enjoyed today's reading. It's Sunday, and it's Yom Kippur. But anyway, that'll be it for today. Continue to enjoy your weekend, what's left of it, and I'll see you tomorrow. Continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will. Get your angel.